Picture this. The ocean surf lazily rolls onto the shore. A brand new Ford F-150 sits in the shallows, hood deep in salt water. Waves break against its chrome grille. Nearby, its owner stands knee-deep in the water. He isn't panicking. He is calm. When the first officer arrives, the man simply points to the truck and utters a phrase that defies all logic. "It wasn't me, it drove itself." It's a scene from a surrealist painting, but instead of a pipe that is not a pipe, we have a pickup truck that drowned itself. It's like a child blaming the dog for a broken vase, except the vase costs $60,000 and weighs 2 tons. This presents us with 3 entirely different scenarios. The first, a perfectly planned insurance fraud scheme. The second, a sudden mental breakdown in front of the entire beach. And the third, the strangest mechanical failure in automotive history. The answer is not as obvious as it seems. This is a forensic Schrodinger's cat. Until we open the pickup's black box, the driver is simultaneously a brilliant scammer, an unfortunate victim, and a madman. The stakes in this game are incredibly high. On one side of the scale is the $60,000 value of the pickup and a clean insurance record. On the other is a fraud conviction, massive fines, and possible prison time. Insurance fraud of this magnitude is a Class D felony in most states. That's up to 5 years in prison. This isn't a friendly poker game. It's going all in at a table where the dealer is the district attorney. And here's the first real document in the case. His words in the initial 911 call were recorded verbatim. When the dispatcher asked what happened, he replied, "My truck, it just drove into the ocean. I tried to stop it, but it wouldn't listen." This quote is more than just words. For forensic investigators, it's the genesis block of the entire investigation, the initial, unchangeable statement upon which everything else will be built. The irony is that, by law, such spontaneous, excited utterances are often considered the most truthful. His version of events, told to the first responding officer, was cinematic. He had parked the pickup on the packed sand to watch the sunset. He got out of the truck, and then the electronics rebelled. The dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree, the engine roared to life without a key in the ignition, and the pickup started moving. On its own. He rushed to the door, yanking the handle, but the central locking system went haywire. The truck slowly but relentlessly drove into the ocean, ignoring its owner's screams. This isn't just a fabrication. It's a carefully constructed narrative that appeals to a collective fear. He's playing on memories of the Audi 5000 panic in the 80s, when dozens of drivers swore their cars accelerated on their own. He's trying to wrap his lie in the packaging of genuine technophobia. For the insurance investigator who arrived 2 hours later, this story is just another Tuesday. He hears tales of spontaneously combusting garages and stolen cars, later found at the bottom of a lake. For him, cynicism isn't a personality trait, it's a calibrated diagnostic tool. The Coalition Against Insurance Fraud estimates the annual cost of fraud at $80 billion. His job is to find the single drop of deceit in this ocean, and he immediately spots several. First, the location. No one accidentally parks at the water's edge. Second, the complete lack of witnesses to the malfunction itself. But the biggest red flag is his calmness. A person whose $60,000 truck just went rogue should be furious, desperate, in shock, not standing there like a philosopher contemplating the inevitable. Psychologist Paul Ekman would call this duping delight, the microscopic, almost imperceptible pleasure one gets from a successful deception. The investigator's eyes scan the pickup's standard specifications and stop on 3 letters: EDR, Event Data Recorder. The vehicle's black box, whose presence in new cars is mandated by federal law under 49 CFR Part 563. The investigator realizes he has a witness that cannot lie. The driver forgot that the truck has its own memory. The game is no longer a contest of stories. It becomes a showdown between a man and irrefutable data. But before the data is retrieved, the driver builds his verbal fortress. He doesn't just say, "Something broke." He weaves a pseudo-technical tapestry, quoting online articles about sticking gas pedals. He mentions rare vehicle recalls for start-stop system failures. This isn't an argument. It's a rhetorical tactic known as the Gish Gallop, overwhelming an opponent with so many quasi-scientific, albeit weak arguments that there isn't enough time to refute them all. He isn't building a solid wall, but a dense smokescreen of terminology. Now, be honest. Imagine you had to come up with an excuse for the dumbest thing you've ever done. Would you invent a complex technical lie like our hero, or would you go with a simple, "I don't know how it happened"? Deception expert Pamela Meyer notes that liars instinctively overload their stories with details. The truth is often simpler and even a bit uncertain. The very complexity of his story is a piece of evidence. Next, he tries to appeal to pity. "I'm just a simple working man. I saved for this truck for years, and now a soulless corporation won't admit its product is faulty." This is a classic maneuver to shift focus. Psychologists call this tactic DARVO, deny, attack, and reverse, victim and offender. It's not just a complaint, it's a practiced manipulative technique to evade responsibility. His story was emotional. His argument sounded plausible to a layperson. But he made one fundamental mistake. He tried to prove the truck acted on its own, failing to consider that the opposite could also be proven, that he was behind the wheel the whole time. It's like a magician who makes you watch the bright flash in his left hand while his right hand quietly performs the trick. He made everyone look at the rogue truck, but the real trick was happening with his right foot on the gas pedal. This trick has a scientific name: cognitive dissonance. Psychologist Leon Festinger described it back in the 1950s. When a person commits an act that contradicts their self-image, the brain experiences immense stress. "I'm a good, honest person," and "I just did something stupid and immoral" are two files that cannot coexist on the same desktop. To relieve the tension, the brain doesn't change the fact of the action, it changes the belief. It creates a new reality where the machine is to blame. It's a spam filter for the conscience. When an email with the subject "I am a fraud" arrives, conflicting with your inbox folder labeled "I am a good guy," the brain simply sends it to spam and creates a new message. It was a tragic accident. This presents us with two very different versions of this man. Version A, a cold-blooded criminal who planned everything from the start. Version B, a person who committed an impulsive, idiotic act, perhaps for a dramatic photo, and when things went wrong, he began to desperately believe his own lie to cope with the shame. It's the difference between an author who meticulously wrote a crime script and a bad actor desperately improvising to save a failing show. Imagine a simple scale of belief in a lie. At one end is 100% cynical calculation. Let's call it the Machiavelli pole. At the other is 100% self-deception, the Walter Mitty pole, where a person is fully immersed in a world where they are a victim of circumstance. Our driver is somewhere in between. At this point in the story, where on that scale is your mental slider? Remember that position. A small lie always requires bigger lies to support it. Perhaps he initially just said, "It was an accident." But then talking to the police, he had to invent flashing lights, then a jammed lock, then a rogue engine. A study from University College London showed that the amygdala, the part of the brain that produces a negative reaction to deceit, becomes desensitized over time. The more a person lies, the less their brain resists it on a biological level. Lying isn't just a habit, it's a neural adaptation. Psychology is a powerful tool. It explains motives. It explains the storm raging in our hero's mind. But it has its limits. It cannot change objective data. And while the driver was constructing an alternate universe in his mind, the investigator was downloading the file that would turn that universe to dust. Psychology explains the why, but the EDR data is the what. It's like a lighthouse in a hurricane. It doesn't interpret the storm. It simply and dispassionately records the wind speed and wave height. It states facts. This event data recorder is not like a voice recorder. It doesn't record sound. It hears no screams, no excuses. It just records physics. Its memory is a loop of 5 to 10 seconds of data that is constantly being overwritten. Speed, engine RPM, steering wheel angle, and most importantly, pedal positions. But at the moment of a trigger event, be it an impact or sudden braking, that loop freezes. It preserves the vehicle's final seconds in digital amber. And here are those seconds, printed on a simple sheet of paper. Speed, smoothly increasing from 0 to 5 miles per hour. Steering wheel position, 0 degrees straight ahead. Brake pedal, 0% application throughout the entire period. Accelerator pedal, 75% application, held steady right until the end. These aren't just numbers. This is the truck's digital dying declaration. And in its testimony, it doesn't point to a faulty microchip, it points to its owner's foot. Imagine yourself in an interrogation room. This printout is placed in front of you. All your stories, your entire fabricated reality, have just collided with an irrefutable fact. The movie projector in your head, which was playing the film I Am a Victim, overheats from the bright lamp of truth, and the film melts. All that's left is a blank white screen and a deafening silence. This is the moment the game is over. His reaction was exactly that. Silence. There was no anger, no bargaining, no denial. Just silence. Investigators see this in nonverbal cues. The shoulders slump, the gaze drops to the table, the breathing slows. This isn't just silence, it's a physiological surrender. It's checkmate. Not a single piece was taken from the board, but the king was exposed, and the game was over. The official charge was insurance fraud. The sentence wasn't a single blow, but a series of precise, calculated financial blows. Probation, a massive fine, and the obligation to repay every last cent. The cost of the pickup to the insurance company, the cost of the environmental cleanup of the beach, and the bill for towing a 2-ton piece of metal out of the surf. But there was another legal blow, a detail he never saw coming. His insurance policy was voided ab initio, from the beginning. This means that legally, he never had insurance. All the premiums he had paid for years were gone. They had become payments for nothing. It was the worst deal of his life. He invested one lie in the hope of getting $60,000. His return on investment was negative $120,000 and a criminal record. Stupidity turned out to be twice as expensive as the truth. And this story isn't just a curiosity. It's an illustration of a fundamental principle of the 21st century. Edmund Locard's exchange principle, translated into the digital age. Every contact leaves a trace. His foot touched the gas pedal, and that contact left a digital footprint in the car's memory. We all leave such traces now, constantly, everywhere. This story leaves us with more than just one man's criminal record. It leaves us with a toolkit, your personal 3-step absurdity detector. First, always look for objective data. Emotions lie, stories change. The numbers in an EDR report are immutable. They don't feel, empathize, or try to win you over. Second, assess the stakes. Who benefits from this accident? If $60,000 is on the line, the probability of a genuine accident approaches 0. Money is a powerful catalyst for lies. Third, apply Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is almost always the correct one. Doctors say, when you hear hoofbeats, think of horses, not zebras. A unique technical glitch that drowned a pickup truck is an exotic zebra. A common case of insurance fraud is an ordinary horse. Always bet on the horse. The greatest weakness of a complex lie is its complexity. It requires too many details to be remembered. The truth is always simpler. It's like a sphere, simple and looking the same from every angle. A lie is a fragile glass sculpture. It requires constant maintenance and shatters into pieces from a single precise blow of fact. As Mark Twain said, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. This is a story about a big deception, but we all use small ones from time to time. Think about your last white lie. What does its mechanism have in common with this driver's story? Psychologists talk about the ladder of justification. We start with a small, harmless lie on the bottom rung. But to maintain it, we have to climb higher and higher until we find ourselves at the top, defending a complete absurdity. So what was at the core of this act? A thought-out but foolish plan to defraud an insurance company, or a desperate act of self-deception that he himself came to believe? Write just one word in the comments: plan or self-deception. Let's see which version wins. Your answer isn't just an opinion. It's your vote in the eternal debate about human nature. Are we inherently cunning and calculating, or are we masters of believing our own fictions?